ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.
Call the meeting to order. My name is Rachel Zenberry. I'm the chair of the Redevelopment Board. I'd like the other members to please introduce themselves.
Steve Revelock, good evening.
Eugene Benson.
Kim Lau.
And we're also joined this evening by the Director of the Department of Planning and Community Development, Claire Ricker. So without further ado, before we move into our first agenda item, I did want to let everyone know what the timing would be for this evening, since we do have a limited time in our schedule due to town meeting starting at 8 p.m. and we want to make sure that everyone who is attending town meeting has time to head over. So our meeting will adjourn promptly at 7:30. We will try and move through the first two agenda items as quickly as possible. The third agenda item, the public hearing for the warrant article for the 2024 special town meeting, will open. The board will discuss the proposed article language. We'll then open it up for public comment. We will promptly close public comment at 7:10 p.m. so that the board has time to discuss, review, and vote prior to agenda item number 4, new business, and then, as I mentioned, we will need to wrap up promptly at 7:30 p.m. All right, so let's go ahead, please.
Do we also have to do the vote on the supplemental?
We do, so we'll move through all of that ahead of agenda item number 3. Let's see, so let's move to agenda item number 1. I will ask my fellow board members to please project, and anyone who is having difficulty hearing, if you could please move towards the front of the room. We do have some HVAC noise, so I apologize in advance for that. Let's move to the review of our meeting minutes. The first set of meeting minutes is from April 1st, 2024, and I'll run through to see if anyone has any amendments or corrections, starting with Steve.
No changes.
Jean.
No changes.
Ken.
No comment.
And I do not have any additions or corrections either, so we will take a vote on the meeting minutes from April 1st, 2024, starting with, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 1st, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve.
Yes.
Jean.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Those meeting minutes have been approved. We'll now move to the meeting minutes from April 8th, 2024. See if there are any additions or corrections, starting with Steve.
None here.
Jean.
None.
Ken.
None.
And I don't have any either. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 8th, 2024 as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve.
Yes.
Jean.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Those meeting minutes have been approved. All right, we'll now move to agenda item number 2, which is a board discussion regarding the supplemental report to town meeting regarding, just pull this up here, Article 28. And I will turn it over to Claire first to see if you have any comments on behalf of the department.
Fantastic, thank you. No real comments on behalf of the department. We put together this supplemental report to reflect an additional change that we wish to make to the zoning bylaw, the board wishes to make to the zoning bylaw as it amends Article 28. We would like to delete Inland Wetland District from the list of overlay districts in section 4.1.2, and this report details that and offers a summary about just that action.
Great, thank you. And I will clarify that this, what we will do this evening is discuss the items that are contained in the boxes within the pre-read, which, as Claire was mentioning, are specific to the overlay, the mention of the overlay district in section 4.1.2. We will then have a discussion, and then we will vote on the amendment to the recommended vote. And if approved, the supplemental report, we'll vote on the supplemental report, and that will be submitted to the town moderator. Okay, so we'll start with Ken for any discussion points or additions or corrections to the supplemental report as written.
I have none.
Jean?
Yeah, this is fine. This corrects the one omission we had last time. Thank you.
Great, and to clarify, for anyone joining us this evening, this was discussed at the Redevelopment Board's last meeting, which is where I believe, Jean, you had made the suggestion to add this supplemental language. Steve, any?
I concur with Mr. Benson. The supplemental report looks fine and captures the omission from our original report.
Great. So is there a motion from the board to amend the discussion and the contents of the main motion and issue the supplemental report to the town moderator?
So moved.
Second.
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So this will be reissued, the supplemental report will be issued to the town moderator. Great, thank you. Okay, let's see, the next item on our agenda is the public hearing for the warrant article for 2024 special town meeting. That is Article 3, which is a zoning bylaw amendment related to adopting the zoning map for the multifamily housing overlay districts, an amendment of the zoning bylaw. And I will turn it over to Claire for an introduction.
Thank you very much. So this is an article that was submitted for special town meeting by the ARB, but at the recommendation of DPCD and the town's and town council. In its work to approve the amendments that were passed in fall town meeting, the Attorney General's office has notified the town that we had a flaw in our original vote, and it did not include the map, that we did not vote appropriately on the map when we voted on the zoning last fall. And so the AG has recommended a follow-up vote on the map to approve just the map at a special town meeting this spring. And Mike Cunningham is here this evening to answer any questions about that, directive from the AG's office. And so what we're doing here tonight is discussing only the map. The zoning is still with the AG's office, but we're just looking at approving the map. The map has not changed from last fall. It is the same map. And I think that's about it for the introduction. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So with that, we will, the Redevelopment Board has already discussed the article language at our prior meeting and had a preliminary discussion regarding the draft amendment. So I will first open it up to Steve for any additions, corrections, discussion points on the article as submitted.
Nothing from them.
Jean?
Nothing from me. I understand this is consistent with what the Attorney General asked us to do, and it's the same map and parcel list as we presented to town meeting in October.
Great, thank you. Ken?
No, I have no comments. This is exactly what was presented last time. There's no changes, so no comments.
Great, and I am in agreement that this is a procedural item that is consistent with the discussion during special town meeting in October of 2023. So without seeing any additional discussion from the board, we're going to open this up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak about the proposed amendment, zoning bylaw amendment for Article 3, if you could please indicate so by raising your hand. Once I call on you, you will have up to 2 minutes to address the board. What we will not do is answer questions as they are raised unless we see that there are some consistencies and we need to make a clarification. We'll save questions and we will answer them at the end. And as I mentioned, we'll take public comment depending on how long it goes. Unfortunately, we will need to end public comment by 7:10 p.m. this evening. So anyone wishing to speak, please raise your hand. so sorry, Manal, before you start, I just want to remind everyone, if you could please project. I apologize, we do not have microphones here with us this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the reminder. Winnell Evans, Orchard Place. I need a clarification. My understanding is that Article 12, which would enact the rezoning, which we voted on at special town meeting, has not actually technically yet been approved by the Attorney General. So I'm curious about how we can amend an article that is still not quite kosher yet. And that is my question. I'd like to know what we will actually be voting on tonight.
Great, thank you very
when
much.
it comes up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
Hi, Amy Goldstein, Precinct 14. Following up on Winnell, if what was voted on at the special town meeting in the fall was not done correctly, shouldn't it be redone? As opposed to voting on this map, as opposed to redoing what was before town meeting.
Great, thank you for the question. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Mike Tarantino. I'm a B1 property owner, and I'm just kind of concerned. I don't know if I missed the discussion over why the B1 zoning is continuously being overlooked, and if there's any discussion to make it, more equitable for all property owners. I'm talking to several B1 owners, and we all feel as though we're being left behind. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate forum or how we start a conversation, or we missed the conversation on this whole subject.
Great, thank you, and I'll come back and I will certainly address that before we,
Thank you.
before we wrap up. Any other comments or questions this evening?
Yes, I'm Mary Ruddy, Bartlett Avenue. I'm the butter to the proposed redistricting area, and I'm requesting that we change how far it goes down Bartlett Avenue. In all the other places, it's only within, a couple of buildings of the main street, and that's not the case on Bartlett Avenue. It's encroaching into the more purely residential neighborhood. It goes in 8 buildings. It should only go in about 4 buildings to be consistent.
Great, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Ian Chin, on Walnut Street. I have a similar comment. I totally in favor of all of this upzoning. There are some areas along Mass Ave where there is multiple, it's sort of like 3 layers in, where it's being proposed to have the Mass Ave Broadway multifamily overlay district. And you can see for some of those areas, like if you look left and right, is the similar depth from Mass Ave are being zoned as a neighborhood instead of the Mass Ave and Broadway. And I guess similar to that concept, it seems something looks amiss there, I suppose. And I do know from my specific context of the area that I know from where I am, where I live, the person that purchased a piece of land that's 3 lots in, they now own sort of like diagonal pieces of land, and it seems to have been carved out so that they can be part of that zoning, that the higher or the Mass Ave Broadway zoning, and it doesn't seem quite as consistent with what's left and right of that depth. What's on the left is zoned for neighborhood, and what's on the right is also zoned as neighborhood. So I just wanted to put that comment there.
Sure, we can certainly clarify the intent behind the layout.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Is this open to general comments as well, or?
Absolutely.
Should I introduce myself a little bit?
Please, can you, first name, address, and you'll have up to 2 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes. Hardeep Singh, 89 Everett Street. Me and my brother own the house at 89 Everett Street. My parents own a house that falls within the zone, and my sister also owns a single-family house in the town. I've been in town for 31 years now. Went to Hardy, Audison, Minuteman, Northeastern, so I'm a local, I'm a townie. Basically, my parents own a property that falls into the zone. They're retired, their only income is the rental income. For that property to actually be utilized for the full purposes allowed by this, plan, it require, complete demolition, brand new everything, and there's no way that's ever gonna happen unless, they sell it to, excuse me, a developer or somebody else. So all this really does is, it provides an opportunity for more private equity or more of these developers to come in and take advantage and just build more value for themselves. I don't see how this is going to benefit, the general community. I feel like this is a stopgap measure, similar to what's happened at Minuteman, where it was limited to a certain size due to what people expected to happen, and now Arlington kids aren't getting spots there. Same thing with this. It's at some point, whatever we do here is going to become obsolete. So that's my general comment. Is I'm a mechanical engineer. I think about long-term consequences. I have more ideas about better ways of doing this, but again, I'm just a person.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
I didn't speak for 2 minutes, so can I
Please,
make
go
more
ahead.
comments?
Yep.
Okay. Amy Goldstein, I'm a town meeting member in precinct 14. I feel
I'm
like
sorry, we need your address too.
29 Albemarle Street.
Thank you.
I feel like precinct 14 has somehow borne the brunt of this zoning change, and that as people noted, the zoning change goes in quite a ways up the side streets of, I don't know, you said Bartlett, I don't know if that's 14 or not, Mount Vernon, Walnut Street, I think Menominee, I'm not sure exactly which one's there. I feel like this has been brought up before, that people don't know that this is happening. And I know that the response is, we had public meetings. We had this meeting and that meeting and the other meeting, we took public comments. And then when we had the precinct meeting in the fall, people showed up at that precinct meeting who had no idea this was going on. And I feel like the whole thing has been rushed because of trying to get the fossil fuel thing changed. And when I stopped at the the planning office this morning and asked some questions, and somebody said, well, the businesses, you could only have incentives for the businesses. The businesses weren't included. Sorry, I'm not saying this very well. Businesses weren't included, and you could just have incentives to have the new developments include businesses on the first floor. And I said, didn't the AG back off on that? And they said, yes, but it's unclear. Well, is it unclear or not? I feel like that change was announced by the AG's office, and nobody here did anything different once that was announced. So I really feel like this needs a more comprehensive look, and we should not be pushing it through this fast.
Thank you. Please.
Grant Cook, Precinct 16, Orbis, no, Wollaston, yeah. I attended most of the sessions for this thing, or a lot of them. There were a lot of meetings, and it was a lot like watching sausage get made. It was a very complicated mandate. We wanted to try, the group wanted to try to spread this around the community. And yeah, it's a collection of compromises, some of them imperfect. It seems like you made a paperwork error. It's altogether proper and fitting. We should fix it, move this forward. I don't want to end up like Milton paying a lawyer $1,000 an hour to defend a court case. I am excited of what this is a precursor for, which, for example, is the work this group will do in the next Springtown meeting of redistricting in the Heights, allowing us to conform the businesses I go to a lot into a more cohesive area. And the proposal was brought forward to allow more 2 and 3 families in my area, my single family homes, which I think, we're not covered in this, and I think there's potential there. So yes, I look at this as a collection of compromises, some of them imperfect against a mandate from the state, but there are opportunities going forward to address some of those compromises to make it a more perfect or a better outcome. And if people don't know about it, pay attention. It's going to be happening over the next year, and I look forward to all of us participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Great. So with that, I will move to addressing some of those items. And I think I'd like to start, if I could, by calling on our town council to address the first item, which is the clarification of what we actually can vote on from the Attorney General's office. If you could please, Mike.
Thank you, Michael Cunningham, Town Council. I think it was Ms. Evans, the first question addressed, and rightly so. Procedurally, we can't change the district as it was voted on last fall by special town meeting. I think as the last speaker spoke about additional opportunities in the future, those may exist, and if people are interested in pursuing those, they can. At this particular juncture, the Attorney General's specific problem with what we did last fall is that we did not amend our zoning bylaw. There was no vote in there that said section 4.12 is amended. That's all we're doing here, and we cannot address by addition, subtraction, anything that was in the district as voted by special town meeting last fall. So it's really tight, narrow parameters. The Attorney General asked for more time to consider it. They've expressed no reservations about what we did last year in terms of what the district consists of. But again, our future opportunities may exist to change that district. And all we need to do, according to the AG's office, is make sure we have the map amended, which is what we're doing now. They were given an extension of time until June 22nd of this year to act on what we did last fall. And that's what we plan to do. So hopefully, if town meeting votes favorably on this on May 8th, we can submit that to the Attorney General's office, and our work will be complete. And then, to the extent that people want to pursue additional actions in the future, they're free to do that.
So something from the AG's office said there's a specific provision that's only to address the map.
There was no, again, there was no letter. I spoke to him on the phone. If that's what you're asking about, what's the specifics of that?
Yeah. If it wasn't done properly, shouldn't it be redone?
No, they had no objection to the district itself. The phone conversation I had with the Attorney General's office, the municipal law unit, was that if you address the zoning map and just amend that, we'll be able to make a determination. I think if they would have highlighted the issue, if there were issues with the district itself, and I think that EOHLC has already determined that they've deemed it compliant with 3A, they're really the entity that would be making that determination. The Attorney General's office is just looking at it for form, for consistency with state law. Whether it's an appropriate district has already been determined.
But the procedure has to be followed.
Correct, and we are following that procedure in accordance with guidance from the Attorney General's office.
From a phone call.
And I believe Town Council has answered that question. Thank you. Let's see, so the other questions that we had here, again, there was quite a lot of discussion previously, and I do want to clarify with regard to the map, the actual configuration of the lots that were included in each of the two districts. There was a significant amount of discussion related to the ability to spread the districts across the different areas of town, and specifically working with the town officials and all of those who attended the many public meetings and the working group to ensure that there was representation across all of the different feeder schools within Arlington, and the different sections of town. Steve, I don't know if you have anything else or Ken to add to just the configuration of the map, which again, I know we spoke at length about both in all of the public hearings as well as at town meeting last year, but for those who may not have been as involved, just around the breadth.
I think just in terms of the general shape of the map, we wanted something that focused, it focuses on two main streets, Broadway and Mass Ave. And we felt that sort of higher buildings there along the main corridor, similar to what existed today, then tapering down a bit behind it, that's the neighborhood multifamily district, and then going back into the the typically 2.5-story zoning that exists, behind the neighborhood multifamily district. In the case of, it was the board's intention not to include any B district properties. We would like to perform in the future a comprehensive look at Arlington's 3 business centers, the Heights, the Center, Capitol Square. The Heights will most likely be up first, in the sometime next year. And this is why none of the B districts, and to answer the question about B1, it's not passing it over, it's just we haven't gotten there yet. Now with regard to East Arlington, there are no neighborhood multifamily sorry, I take that back. There are no Mass Ave, there's not a Mass Ave the MBTA, the Mass Ave Broadway district in East Arlington isn't on Mass Ave. And again, this is to leave room for sort of a comprehensive relook at the commercial area there. And we basically didn't want to tell property owners that we're rezoning you and then 2 years later do it again. With Mass Ave and Broadway, there was also the, one of the things where there was a little bit of back and forth is, it's basically 2 thoroughfares in East Arlington. At one point, we had concentrated a little too heavy there, and then backed off some of that. So there were a number of iterations and a bit of give and take in the process.
Great, thank you, Steve. And to the gentleman who posed the question around potentially speaking about the B1 districts in the future, I certainly invite you to engage at a future redevelopment board meeting. We'd be happy to put that as a topic on our agenda. If you have items that you'd like to speak with, or you're welcome to reach out to anyone on the board for a discussion around how we might be able to improve that particular districting.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything else? I think we've covered map configuration and the procedural items.
There is
please.
A question from the fellow over there. So yes, in terms of a lot of what this mandate from the state is essentially to do is, like, we have a housing shortage. A lot of the reason we have a housing shortage is because, well, we have growing population and just lots of restrictions on, how housing can be built that vary from community to community. So this was essentially the state saying, we're not going to tell you how to do it, but you need to make some more room. And you are right in that, in order to take advantage of these bylaw changes, it would likely mean redevelopment or at least a very substantial renovation. No property owner has to do this, no property owner has to do this, and in a sense, it's I think it will be not too unlike the neighborhoods that we currently have, where once upon a time Arlington was predominantly farms. Farmers got out of the farming business and worked with builders or sold to builders who then created residential neighborhoods. They had new houses, people moved in. Over time, I picture a number of these properties turning over. They'll be redeveloped. We'll have new housing and more people will move in. That's the basic sort of flow into the future.
Am I open to make a comment?
I've not closed public comment, so I will actually just before, I just want to make sure we've answered everyone's questions, and then I'll open it up one more time to public comments. But again, we will close by 7:10. Any other clarifications from the board based on the first round of questions? Great. So I'll open it up procedurally. I'll open it up one more time to public comment. Again, please raise your hand and introduce yourself first, last name, and address. Please.
Again, Hardeep Singh, 89 Everett Street. So I wanted to respond to Stephen as well because I have followed along. I noticed that this was happening. I followed along with the different maps and everything. I attended, or I logged into one of the Zoom meetings. But one of the ideas that I never saw gaining traction was the idea of just changing the zoning of the whole town. Again, I see myself as a little bit different from everybody here. What I've noticed is that as time's gone on, it's gotten less and less likely for somebody like me to actually acquire property in this town. I got lucky. I bought in 2012. I don't see in the future, even with this, any changes that are going to happen, everything's going to get more and more expensive. There are no opportunities for, truly, equitable development. It's just not going to happen. That's why I stopped really caring much about it, because I saw that there was no interest in rezoning the whole town, because purely mathematically what makes sense is to analyze all the lots in the town, determine which lots have the most space, most lot size with the smallest dwelling size, and just open those up for, you know, increasing the number of units, right? That's you know, just purely mathematical. That's what makes the most sense.
Thank you for the comment. Jean, we're going to take a few more public comments, and then I'll definitely.
Hi, my name is Joe. 483 Summer Street. It's a multifamily unit. I moved here recently. I got my PhD from the University of South Carolina and moved here to work at a company that builds water electrolyzers.
Could you speak up and move forward? I can't hear you.
Oh, I'll come forward.
Thank you so much.
So,
Last name also, please.
oh, last name?
Please.
Okay, yes. So I'm Joe Lapata. I live at 483 Summer Street. It's a multifamily unit. I moved here last year, beginning of the year. Started a new job at a company that builds water electrolyzers and generates hydrogen. Came here with a PhD. Have a six-figure salary, and I think the rent is barely affordable. It's actually insane here. So the thing motivating this multifamily housing is that there just needs to be more competition in the rental market, and it just makes sense to put that multifamily housing districts near bus lines, which is what it looks like you're trying to do here. So I just wanted to make that comment. It's like it's kind of tough right now.
Thank you. Any other comments, please?
Hi, Mike Tarantino on the B1 again. I'm on Mass Ave. Just a question. Is it possible that I saw a map, one of the initial overlay maps that included the B1? One of the early maps? Never? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
There was, but Minty Garber, 213 Broadway. Just want to say that this has unleashed every single developer in the state of Massachusetts to the homeowners. And one thing I wanted to confirm with you is I plan to live in my house. When it turns over, I don't care what they do with it, but I wish there was some way to say, please do not bother me. Because the fact that you've changed the zoning is fine, but I can keep my house as is for as long as I want. And I wish I could put a sign on my lawn saying that I am not interested in being rezoned. But it's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's just been I'm just getting deluged. So that's an unintended consequence.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'm sorry. We do have to see if there's anyone else. All right. Seeing none, we are going to close public comments. Jean, I believe that you had wanted to address.
I'm going to stand up, so hopefully I'll be heard a little more easily. The gentleman back there said one of the things that was the ultimate decision on going forward, which is let's put the multifamily districts on and right near Mass Ave and Broadway, because that's where the buses go, that's where the shops are. Hopefully we'll have more people walking and fewer people in cars, sort of like the 15-minute neighborhood theory. So that's the main reason. The second is, under the rules that the state imposed, we could not say, oh, there's a parcel out there in another part of town. Let's just rezone it. There had to be large contiguous parcels. We couldn't, under the state rules, start spot zoning. So when you look at these parcels, you'll see how they go like this. And that's so that we would have contiguous parcels that are at least the minimum size that we had to have to get approved. So what I understand the Attorney General said to Town Council, and he's going to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm often wrong, but I believe what they said was the regulation or the bylaw that we passed last year was fine. We don't have to touch that again. We just have to re-vote on the map, because the vote on the map was technically insufficient because it wasn't attached to the change in the bylaw itself. That's why I understand we have to have a new vote on the map, but the change to the bylaw itself otherwise is already done.
Thank you, Jean, for the clarification. Mike, do you have any additions or corrections to what Jean?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael Cunningham, Town Council. No, Attorney Benson is correct. I would say AG's office hasn't said it's fine, but they are deferring to the EOHLC, and that determination's already been made that the district, as it was constructed, is compliant with the statute, is going to carry a lot of weight with the AG. And the only problem the AG cited was specifically we didn't amend the map. So that's what we're doing. I do anticipate that, based on what we're doing, if it's successful, we'll have a district before June 22nd.
Great, thank you very much for the clarification. So with that, I will turn it back over to the board for any additional discussion or any additional modifications before we take a motion to, before we take a vote to recommend action on Article 3 for special town meeting. Steve?
Nothing further.
Nothing.
Ken?
No, nothing.
Great. Is there a motion by a member of the board to recommend favorable action on Article 3, the zoning bylaw amendment related to adopting the zoning map for the multifamily housing overlay districts and amendment of the zoning bylaw?
So motion.
Second.
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve.
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. We will recommend favorable action on Article 3 for special town meeting. So the next step in this process will be to create the redevelopment board's report to town meeting, which we will do over the next 3 days. And that will be posted with our agenda for on Thursday of this week. And the redevelopment board will meet again on Monday at 6:30 p.m. We will have a shorter meeting because town meeting on next Monday evening is starting at 7:30 p.m. to the best of my knowledge. And we will review and discuss and hopefully approve the report to town meeting at that time. So with that, that closes agenda item number 3, and we will move to agenda item number 4, which is new business, and I will turn it over to Claire.
Great, thank you. Our new business this evening relates to a memo that was circulated from David Morgan and me related to the Inland Wetland District. David wrote a pretty technical memo, I think, that answers a lot of outstanding questions that I've been getting, and I know potentially the board has also been getting. So I'm happy I will try to answer any questions that the board may have about this memo, and again, it's been attached to the annotated town warrant related to Article 28, which will be heard this evening.
Great, thank you. Steve?
I appreciate Mr. Morgan's putting the time into that. I thought it was a very good explainer, so my gratitude.
Thank you. Jean?
I have the same sentiments as Mr. Evans.
Ken?
Same here.
And I concur. Thanks all around. Thank you. Great. And the only other item that I wanted to follow up on regarding new business was we have tentatively looked at either a June or September joint meeting with the select board with the topic of parking. So I wanted to see whether or not that was something we thought we would be able to move forward with for June, or are we looking at September, do you think, at this point?
I think at this point I would have to confirm with Ashley Meyer, who's the select board administrator, if June is a possibility. She's
Okay.
aware that we want to have this joint meeting, and we did initially discuss June, but I would need to follow up with her this evening.
Great. Thank you very much. I think if we are able to identify whether that's a possibility at our next meeting, that would be helpful, because otherwise I think it's going to be difficult to wrangle schedules, and we should just go ahead and start looking at the September dates. Unless anyone has any other thoughts on that topic? Okay, great. So that concludes agenda item number 4, and I will now see if there is a motion to adjourn.
So motion.
Second.
We'll take a vote, starting with Steve,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. This meeting is adjourned.
ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.